Let me start off by saying that we are very concerned about anybody that was injured as a result of this incident. That is the priority.
Next at 4, Denver's police chief sits down with Denver 7, answering questions about 3 officers who fired their weapons in a downtown crowd and injured 5 people as a result.
Everybody wants answers for this, just as we do in this particular situation.
The pandemic has led to a big jump in the number of women who die from giving birth. Why doctors say increasing awareness about this is the start of finding a solution. And with the millions of job openings in the U.S. right now, there's a push to hire more refugees. Why some think they are the answer to filling the gap between available positions and workers.
Plus, Denver's mayor gives his final State of the City address.
We've got people who feel a little desperate economically.
And Denver Metro City's open cooling centers as temperatures hit triple digits.
As long as the temps are high and we're open, we are a cooling center for the public.
And good afternoon to you, and thank you for watching Denver 7 News at 4. I'm Ann Trujillo. It is a weather action day on this very toasty afternoon here in the metro. Both Denver and Aurora have activated cooling centers in city rec buildings to help people get out of the heat. So here with a closer look at today's heat advisory, our chief meteorologist, Mike Nelson. So Mike, Denver broke a record today, hitting triple digits.
And we broke 2 records. Let's start with the morning record. 72 degrees is the warmest low temperature we've ever had on July 18th. It beats a record of 70 that was set in 1878. I remember that one. It was a really warm morning. And this is what we had this afternoon. 104 at Greeley and Fort Collins, both records. 106 at Ray, 104 degrees at Sterling. 100 here in Denver. That beats a mark that was set at 99 just 2 years ago. It marks the 4th 100-degree temperature we've had so far this season, and we've already had 16 days of 95 degrees or hotter and 29 days above 90 degrees so far for the summer. So obviously northeast Colorado under a heat advisory, and that goes until 9 o'clock tonight. The one benefit we do have here on the high plains, the lower dew points mean that air does cool off or becomes less hot during the evening compared to our friends that live in the Midwest and the Mississippi Valley. But right now, Denver's actually dropped back to 94, and that is because of a couple of benevolent showers that moved through and brought us a slight bit of cooling out there. It hasn't been much. There's just a little bit of activity. No flood warnings out there today, no severe thunderstorm warnings, but we have just a few of these little bitty showers that have moved through. Few showers pretty much is the word on our headline. The heat is going to be sticking to us in more ways than one. Isolated afternoon storms, little meaningful moisture this week, and the hot weather is just going to go on and on and on. And
oh boy, I've heard this record. All right, thank you, Mike. And you know, you can always get the latest weather forecast right on your streaming device. Just download the Denver 7 app. You can also get the weather for your neighborhood 24/7 on thedenverchannel.com.
For nearly 56 million Americans, it's hot out there today. That estimate coming from NOAA. Dangerous levels of heat have been forecast in the Southwest and Midwest. Although highs in the central parts of the country can often reach triple digits this time of year, many cities have already topped the number of 100-degree days they typically see throughout a whole summer. European countries are also dealing with a heat wave, and the threat of record-breaking temperatures is making it tough to control wildfires in France, Portugal, and Spain. Thousands of people have been evacuated across 3 countries. So far, the fire in France has caused the most damage.
We now know a mother and daughter were the 2 victims killed last Friday night in flash floods through Larimer County. Lisa Schilling was a 4th-grade teacher in Jefferson County, and 12-year-old Liliana Arguello was her daughter. The Jefferson County School District confirmed their deaths today. According to a GoFundMe account for the family, the mother and daughter were inside a trailer when flooding swept it away. We will have more on the family tonight on Denver 7 News at 10. We also have put a link to the GoFundMe on our website, thedenverchannel.com. And there are still so many questions this afternoon about a shooting in lower downtown Denver early Sunday morning. 3 police officers opened fire near 20th and Larimer as people were leaving the bars. Officers say they were targeting a man who had pulled a gun on them. And now 5 innocent people are recovering from injuries after officers fired their weapons. Denver 7's Micah Smith is joining us live now. Micah, Denver's police chief wants answers as well.
he does, and he gave very few answers during our news conference today. Now, after 24 hours of questions surrounding the Denver Police Department's handling of the shooting at 20th and Larimer, Chief Paul Pazin did meet with reporters this morning. Now, first, he talked about the violence in lower downtown and his department's plans to address that violence in the future. Pazin also confirmed that the suspect, who officers shot multiple times, had a gun. And as for the 5 other people who were shot and taken to the hospital, Pazin told us those victims have been released. But Pazin would not answer questions about DPD's decision-making in a crowded area or officer training, citing the ongoing investigation into the shooting. As community members and local leaders demand officer accountability for what happened, Pazin told us accountability goes both ways.
We talked about ensuring that officers are held accountable for their actions. We certainly need to ensure that violent and repeat offenders are held accountable for their actions as well.
Now, following our interview with Chief Pazin, we sat down with the Community Relations Director for Denver's Task Force to Reimagine Policing, and he says he still has a lot of questions for Chief Pazin. You'll hear from him coming up tonight at 5. But for now, reporting live, Micah Smith, Denver 7.
Yes, and we will keep pushing for answers. Thank you, Micah. Today, Mayor Michael Hancock delivered his final State of the City address here in Denver. He talked about everything from the economy to crime. Denver 7's Megan Lopez was there and joins us. And Megan, he has less than a year left in office, but the Denver mayor is making clear he's not going to stop working hard for the city.
Mayor Hancock has about 363 days left in office, so not a lot of time left, but still plenty to do. And that's really the time when you start thinking about legacy. For being in office for the past decade, what is the legacy that he's leaving behind? And of the many campaign promises that he made over the years, what was he actually able to accomplish? Now, Mayor Hancock took over as the leader of the city of Denver in 2011 when the city was trying to recover from the financial recession and the Great Recession with an economic recovery. He campaigned on a balanced budget. Fast forward to today, and there's high inflation across the country and fears of another recession. Mayor Hancock says he believes the city is better prepared to handle a recession than it was in 2008. He also focused his early days on affordability. He spoke at length in his speech about steps the city has taken to make Denver more affordable, like down payment assistance programs. However, a report released last April by a real estate group named Denver as the 5th least affordable metro area in the country. Homelessness was another major platform that he ran on. While the city has helped rehouse 13,000 people since 2011, Denver's homeless population has doubled between 2020 and 2021. Crime also very high in the city, something the mayor acknowledged in his speech and then spoke about with us afterward.
We've got people who feel a little desperate economically, and so we're going to work to address those issues because I believe if we do that, we're starting to get to the root cause of some of these issues. But it's one person at a time. But one thing we have to be clear is that we won't tolerate crime in our city.
So something the mayor didn't talk about was his Vision Zero plan. That's to have 0 traffic deaths by 2030. He didn't address that in his State of the City address, but he did talk about it with us afterward. He says it's something that the city is still working on. Of course, Denver reached a 20-year high last year for traffic deaths, and we're on pace to break the all-time record this year with traffic deaths. Coming up at 6, we'll take a closer look at his legacy. I'm live, Megan Lopez, Denver 7.
The FCC is looking to raise the standard for broadband or high-speed internet. Right now, for a connection to be considered broadband, it needs to be able to download 25 megabits per second. That's been the standard since 2015. Now the FCC wants to raise that to 100 megabits per second. Now this would also raise standards for broadband access in low-income neighborhoods and rural communities. Today, not having high-speed internet can be risky for your health. People living in counties with broadband access are less likely to die from COVID. That's according to new research from Tufts University.
And an important factor here is the quality of information that you get access to. Your ability to cross-check information increases when you have a lean-forward wireline broadband connection.
Only 76% of the country has access to broadband. Even fewer people actually use it. People with broadband access are able to use Zoom on their computer and quickly research information, while people without broadband tend to rely on their phones for information, which can be more difficult.
If you are primarily getting information on the phone, you don't get good information as to, is the vaccine in my neighborhood? Is there a CVS nearby?
The Biden administration has set aside $65 billion to close the broadband gap. Most of that money will go to rural areas. The federal government is also subsidizing low-cost internet for some families living in the city.
The money from the public sector is important, but I also believe that there is a role here for the private sector. What I would ask our public officials is to go out and form public-private partnerships to close the gap and not try to do this all on their own.
COVID cases, hospitalizations, and deaths are all going up. Johns Hopkins reports average daily cases have more than tripled over the last 3 months. Daily deaths have surpassed 400 for the first time in 2 months, and hospitalizations are at more than 40,000 a day for the first time in 4 months. New research shows mosquitoes are attracted to the scent of certain viruses. One popular acne medication may block those scents, but it may not be a good option. The vitamin that's in it, that could be the answer instead.
We hope you remember to set your alarm. Tickets to the Avs home opener went on sale today, and the resale prices are just as high as you'd expect. Also, Mike will be back with another look at the heat and the storms pushing through our state.